Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves to quantify a list. It's Frank. How are you today?
I am feeling ready to criticize someone's list, to quantify someone's list.
Yeah, quantify is a better word.
Yeah.
Because makes me think of space, Frank. Like quantum leap, quantum entanglement, quantum realm.
Okay, you know words.
Yeah, I know words that start with quantum.
With quantum. Quantum of solace.
Quantum. Oh, nice. Good one. Yes. Queequeg. No, that's not the
No.
same. No, that's the same. Anyway, Queequeg is a character from Moby Dick. One of the great pieces.
Okay.
One of the great pieces of American literature by Herman Melville. Anyway, Frank, he tasks him, Ahab, if we get my drift.
I do.
Frank, what beer are you drinking?
I am drinking a zero gravity Green State Lager. I've actually been enjoying a lot of these.
Oh, I
lately.
love
Yeah.
Green State. Yes.
I love this one.
Yes.
I bought a 12-pack
So
of these.
good.
And I've just been
So
savoring them. They're so good. Yeah, it's a really, really nice, like very crisp lager. That's a little bit hoppy, but it's more, it's the more of the, easygoing sort of Pilsner style. But made really, really nicely by Zero Gravity out of Vermont, and I'm a big fan of this brewery. I've been to the actual brewery in Burlington, and highly recommend their stuff if you can find it.
That's great. Excellent choice. I grab their stuff when I can, because they do sell it around here. I'm drinking an Apponaug West Coast style pale ale. Thanks for asking. It is their Lake Runner, which is a 5.2, just a pint. It is delicious. Got little beavers drinking down at the bottom, which I find hilarious. And they're from Warwick. They're from the state that I currently live in.
Nice.
Warwick. Where the airport is.
There you go.
Don't be deceived when they say welcome to Providence. You're not in Providence.
Uh-huh.
You're in Warwick.
Okay.
And so anyway, I actually I have yet to taste it. I poured it.
Exciting.
Haven't done anything with it. It is I would say it's a dark amber.
Okay.
It's got a hazy. It's got a haziness to it. Because it's a pale, like a foggy sunset. So
Ooh.
Ooh, that's good. Well, that's really good. It's dry. It's kind of sweet. I've never really. Yeah, there's a hint of sweetness I've never really encountered in a pale ale before.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that.
Maybe because it's a West Coast pale ale.
Oh.
And they're sweet out of the West Coast or something like that. I don't really know. Heck if I know, Frank. Wow.
You got my attention. Like now I want to try it. So
good. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Frank, no one else's good stuff when I have a brainstorm with myself.
Yes.
And I come up with new segments for our show. I think it's one of my favorite things that I do on the show.
It's one of my favorite things you do.
just come up with fun titles and see if I can fit a segment into them. And this one is called IMDBatable, in which we look at the website IMDB and debate some of the stuff that is on there, including their highest rated films, their reviews, their fun facts, and probably other things that we'll do with IMDb later in the future. IMDBatable. Great title.
Great title. Well done.
Oh, great title.
Be proud of that one. That's
Please,
a good
you
one.
should make the title of this episode IMDBatable. Great title. Really meta.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, I came up with this idea because I follow them on Insta, and it was National Science Fiction Day or something like that a while back. And they should according to IMDb, according to these star reviews, the highest rated sci-fi films of all time, numbers 1 through 5. And I thought that we should look at this list and say, are these actually the greatest science fiction movies of all time? Why are they on this list? And if we don't agree with this, what should be on this list on our own greatest sci-fi films? Not just for us, but like what should actually replace some of the movies that are on this list?
Sure.
Because I do not agree with
Nope.
one of them.
Nope. I don't agree with a few of these.
Maybe 2? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
Let's
4
get
out
into
of
it.
5, Frank.
Let's get into
with.
it. So
we'll find out.
they've got from best to worst, right? And this is the top 5, so not actually bad, but Inception at number 1 with 8.8 stars. The Matrix, 8.7 stars. Empire Strikes Back, also at 8.7 stars. Interstellar in 4th place with 8.6 stars. And rounding out the top 5, Terminator 2 Judgment Day with 8.5 stars. I have put a link to the Instagram post in the show notes. But Inception at the top, Matrix, Empire, Interstellar, Terminator 2. There are some movies in this top 5 that I would not put in the top 5 at all.
Inception, right?
Inception, I would not ever have put in the top 5 best sci-fi movies of all time. Not that I didn't like it.
Well, let's start with Inception. Let's not go all the way down. We could just start with Inception, because I saw this list and it was highest rated films of all time. Inception number 1. I said that's utter bullcrock. That's utter bullcrock. It's a fine movie. It's not the greatest science fiction movie of all time.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a good movie. It's a fine movie, but no, it's not. I think that's because it was such a blockbuster hit at a time during the when the internet was already around, right? And so it probably got a ton of ratings, and because it got so many ratings that were very, very positive, I'm sure that skews it a little bit. Same goes for Interstellar.
No, I do not agree.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't belong there. I'm saying that's how it got on the list. Is because there's just so many data points going in, right? So many votes to begin with.
Tell me about this from a marketing perspective, Frank. Tell me.
Well, I mean, just like statistics, right? Like the more votes a thing gets, I don't know what we could sit here and look, but I'm not going to do it. What number of ratings does The Matrix and Empire and Terminator 2 have? Sure, they're 8.7 stars, 8.5 stars, but if Inception has millions of ratings and these others have thousands, that might pull the average up if there are millions of ratings that are higher. Anyway, I don't think Inception really belongs on this list. I would bump up The Empire Strikes Back to at least 2nd place. And The Matrix, I think, belongs here because of its significance in cinema history. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, let's don't just skip ahead. I want to talk about Inception.
One movie at a time.
I want to talk about one movie at a time. Inception is a science fiction film.
Yes,
for all intents.
Yes,
and purposes,
it is.
Right? They use a scientific device that is
fictional, not
true. So yeah, but it's not really science fiction, if you know what I mean. Like it's a heist film that happens to include some science fiction elements to it. It's a philosophical heist film. And And so, like, to consider it like this is the peak of science fiction, I think it's kind of weak science fiction. I don't think it's a weak movie. It's a very good movie. I don't know if it's as good as people. It's not. I shouldn't say as good as people say that it is. I do not love it the way that other people do. I fell asleep the first time I watched it. I do believe I got incepted. So,
Did you see it at a midnight showing?
I sure did. That's why I fell asleep.
Me too. I did too.
Of the movie. Did we see it together?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't living. I was still living in New York at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I definitely fell asleep. It was one of the, if not the last midnight showings that I saw. I think that was like, well, nope, I can't do these anymore.
I think Dark Knight Rises. Oh no, Superman, Man of Steel. I think was probably the last one I saw.
How disappointing for you.
Yeah.
That must have been a very disappointing midnight showing.
It was not worth staying up.
That movie. No, that's what I mean. You're like, I stayed up until 3 a.m. for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I woke up the next morning and I was like, I feel like I didn't like that. Anyway, Inception.
Well, so the thing with looking at this, like, top highest rated sci-fi films of all time. Sure, they're the highest rated, right? Because, like you said, the data points and everything like that. But I'm looking at this as what have you contributed to the genre?
Sure, yes.
That's kind of how I'm looking at this. Like, did you change science fiction films? Not really. It's good. You did a lot of interesting things. There's a lot of great practical effects. You didn't change science fiction.
No.
You made a good movie. And that's kind of where the buck stops there. And so Inception is not on my list. You didn't add anything to the genre. You made a good movie. You made a good heist movie with some science fiction elements.
Yeah. I agree. That's a good description of it. It is a heist movie, first and foremost. And yes, science fiction is what they used to tell a heist story.
Correct. Yeah, so, yes, I'm just not on board for that one. The Matrix, however, I can get down for that being on this list.
I agree.
And I'm not a huge Matrix fan. I like it. It's fine. No, it's not fine. It's also very good. Fine. The connotation of fine is not, what I mean it to be. It changed movies.
Absolutely.
The way it changed science fiction, it changed action films. Like what people thought was possible, how they view action movies, the way that they're filmed and shot, trends of dress. People were very into long black coats for a little while.
Yeah.
Because of this movie. And it absolutely deserves to be on this list. 100% top movies. Should it be as highly rated as it is?
Should it be as highly rated? I mean, should it be number 2 or should it be 8.7 stars?
Either one.
Should it be number 2? I think probably not. I think probably not. Not number 2, but in the top 5 for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would probably put Empire at number 2.
Yeah, I think I probably would as well, but I actually have a problem with Empire being on this list if I'm being honest.
Because it's not A New Hope?
Yeah. Because while it is the superior film, like, it is a better made movie, it is Star Wars: The New Hope that changed science fiction.
But when people rate this stuff on IMDb, and that's I admire your definition of, like, what makes the best sci-fi films of all time, but that's not really what this thing is.
True.
This is the highest rated.
IMDBatable.
And that is why it's IMDBatable. Because people, when they rate it on IMDb, they're probably giving a much more simplistic, much less thought out evaluation than you're giving it. Of like, wow, it really changed the game. I think they're really more like, I had fun at this movie. 10.
Yeah, that's true. I disliked one thing about this movie, and like disregarded the rest. Half a star.
Yeah. And that's how you end up with averaging out at 8 point whatever for some of these. Right. Yeah. I think that, yes, like, I would, if I was talking about the movies that I think made the biggest impact, I would put Star Wars, not Empire. I would also put Terminator 1, not Terminator 2. on this list for the same reason. But Terminator 2 is the better film, and Empire is the better film from a filmmaker's perspective.
Okay,
that seems to be the consensus by many. So I think that's why both of those films are on these lists. The sequels are on these lists.
Serious question: why is Empire Strikes Back a better movie than, well, let's say, The Matrix and Inception? Why, in your mind, does it deserve to be higher?
I think because of it continued like the innovation of the sci-fi like genre, like the revolution that Star Wars ushered in was brought to a higher level with Empire, and it's considered just one of the best movies of all time, not just even just sci-fi. Same goes for The Matrix, though. I mean, it is considered one of the best movies of all time. It's on lots of lists of the 100 best films. I think that Empire helped pave the way for, say, The Matrix. So I would put it above for that reason. Like, I don't think you would get something like The Matrix without George Lucas doing what he did 20 some odd years earlier with Star Wars, and then a few years after that.
I agree. I don't think you don't get any of these. Correction. You don't get Inception, The Matrix, or Terminator without Star Wars.
Yeah.
But you get Interstellar.
You might get Interstellar,
without Star
yeah.
Wars.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's I guess as a better. So let me ask you this: what makes Empire Strikes Back a better movie than A New Hope?
That's one I struggle with because A New Hope is my favorite. But I sort of like I know the popular opinion is that Empire is the better film, but I enjoy A New Hope more.
But even the popular opinion, and I'm not like, as you don't have to fully answer the question, but like, why is it better? It structurally, as a story, if I'm looking at it as a story, a lot of it's unresolved. Like it is a middle chapter that really only, for my money, plays well when you know the end. When you know the end, because the rest, like falls into pieces. It's like picking up the middle of a book and not finishing. It's starting in the middle and ending before you finish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why is it so good? Because of its set pieces, its emotional impact.
It's the characters. I really think it's like that. It makes this fantastical, galaxy, this fantastical situation feel grounded and real through the humanity of its characters,
in a way that the first movie does not do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an adventure. The first movie is a high adventure film that is exciting and swashbuckling, but maybe not as realistic with all of the character beats.
I know I'm completely. I know it is not realistic with character beats. Like Leia loses her whole planet, and Luke's like, "I'm really sad about this guy that I just met that has died," and Leia's like, "Yeah, all right."
Yeah,
I'm not going to mention the fact that I've lost everyone I love,
right?
At all. And I will be smiling and perfectly put together by the end of this film, as will everybody else who's from Alderaan.
Exactly.
Right, right. The people that raised you, skeletons. You never think about them again.
Yeah.
So that's true. If A New Hope is the grand saga or the grand adventure, then Empire is the character study.
Sure.
Right, and it's a lot of quiet moments that A New Hope does not have time for.
Right.
Even though it has a lot of time.
It does.
It does. So, but it does not have time for your quiet moments.
Yeah.
When it does, it actually is furthering the plot.
That's right.
Studying the characters.
It's tight. It's a very tight movie.
It is. It is and it isn't. Because it takes 20 minutes to meet your main, to meet the main protagonist of your story. And so like it's tight, but it's structured so oddly, and I think that's a strength of the film because it makes it different. Where you're literally thrown in media res. Like it is a great in media res. Here's the scroll catching you up, and bam, and you're on the adventure. Don't care if you know what's going on or not. You'll find out. It's not that complicated.
Yep.
And I've never really encountered. There's really nothing like that. Like always meet your main characters first. It's very rare when you don't. The only thing that I can really think of that is kind of like that is Psycho, which is not a sci-fi movie.
Oh yeah.
But like you think you're following heroine Marion Crane or whatever, and then she dies, and you're like, well, now what?
True.
She was the lead character, and you killed her.
It completely subverts your expectations. Completely.
Yeah, and that's kind of in some ways what A New Hope does. But that's why I think I don't know if it is better or worse than Empire.
Yeah.
I think they're so different.
Again, I think that Star Wars has the bigger cultural impact because it's what kicked off this whole thing. And I think it probably deserves more respect even from Star Wars fans than it gets. I think it's taken for granted a little bit. I'll put it that way. And Empire gets a lot of the love. Deservedly so, but I think that A New Hope could get some more respect than it currently gets.
What about Interstellar?
Interstellar.
No,
I wanted to pose the question to you. What do you think about Interstellar being on this list and being where it is on this list?
It's funny that you say that because I just watched Interstellar last week. So I hadn't seen it in a while, and I'm running a film club at work, and they selected Interstellar because they were like, I kid you not, students were like, I listen to the soundtrack all the time, but I've never seen the movie.
Huh.
And I said, that's so interesting.
That is so interesting.
It's such a lot of the soundtrack to Interstellar is discordant beeps and the organ.
Is it
a
to
giant
study?
pipe
They
organ.
listen to it while they study or do work
I don't know. Actually, I've not. I will ask and I will report
I'm
back.
interested
But
in that, yeah.
So it's my favorite Chris Nolan film. Above all his Batmans and his Duncan Kirks and his Inceptions, Interstellar I think is his best movie. And rewatching it, I said, "Wow, no, this really is it's so good." And I think it owes everything to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes,
because that is not what he made, but it's certainly in the vein of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
You can see the inspiration.
Oh gosh, it's everywhere.
It's all over the place.
It's from the black hole tunnel to the weird plays on gravity and realistic, quote unquote, realistic technology and the white tiles and everything.
There's a point at which I'm like, is it science fiction? Is it realistic fiction? It's
actually quite real. It is science fiction in that
it is.
It's realistic fiction, only realistic science.
Realistic science
narrative.
Fiction. Yeah.
To a point because they did their research and what was allowed but there's eventually some stuff where you have to go, we just don't know, so you're gonna have to make it up.
Just go along with it. Yeah.
You can only go so far, and so there's a lot that is real, some of it's not, and so it does count in the science fiction realm. Okay. I'm kind of comfortable where it is on this list, truthfully. If we're looking at just the highest rated and how good I think it is, I think it really does deserve to sit up there with The Matrix and Star Wars because it's a different kind of science fiction. And I like 2001: A Space Odyssey a lot. I think Interstellar is a better movie. It's Kubrick wasn't interested in creating a movie that made sense.
Sure.
And so, 2001 is about man's connection with technology, and how far does that take him through time, and because of that, it's a little discordant or disjointed from one section to the next the next. And while there are some stellar sequences and it's wonderfully filmed because it's Kubrick and all these things, I don't think narratively it holds together the way that Interstellar does.
Gotcha.
But I think Interstellar is a less complex film, so I guess it depends on if that's what you're going for or not, what you're into. So maybe I'd bump it down. If I was saying these are the top 5 sci-fi films of all time, I'd probably bump it down to 5, maybe 6 or 7. Maybe I'd be okay. I wouldn't exactly put it on this list,
sure,
but.
I would give you 5. I would absolutely give you 5. I don't know that I think it doesn't belong in the top 5. I think it may be too soon for us to know what impact it's going to have in the long term on the genre, but it is a incredibly well-made, highly regarded film in the genre. I would think it's appropriate to put it at number 5. Yeah,
okay,
I would agree with you.
I'll take appropriate.
Yeah,
I'll take appropriate. I think you've raised a good point where it's too early to tell. It's worth noting that there's no movie under 1980 here on this top 5
yeah, that's true.
list, including 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Or Trip to the Moon, or
yes, yeah. Well, I think that's also part of the sort of recency bias of IMDb. Like the way people are rating a movie on IMDb is probably a little bit more with a focus on more recent films, because
mm-hmm.
I don't. It's not like Letterboxd where it's like film connoisseurs rating films. I think it's more of your average person rating films, and again, rating it probably pretty subjectively. And a lot of the films that get a ton of ratings are probably the ones that someone just saw in the theater, and then or on whatever at home, and then rates it on IMDb. So you're going to get more ratings for the newer films and fewer ratings for the older films. And even if an older film like the Kubrick film 2001 probably doesn't have the same number of ratings, even if they're very high. I don't know, like that just that may weight it differently.
Point. I think it's also worth noting with all the sci-fi films that have existed and whatever else, like it is not until 2001: A Space Odyssey that sci-fi really starts to take.
Yeah.
It becomes a serious matter on film, and it's not until Star Wars that it becomes a serious and popular matter on screen. So 1980 is the lowest or the oldest on this list, but it's only 3 years previous that you're looking at like the cultural phenomenon and scientific importance that is Star Wars, and then only about 1960 something for 2001, 68.
I think 68,
like that.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's 12 years is not a huge chunk of time.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, it really before 1980 there wasn't really too many entries in the genre, so that makes sense.
Yeah. You had bones about Judgment Day being on here, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Tell me about that. You're a huge Terminator fan.
I am. I love Terminator. No, I just to say that for the same reason that I kind of feel like A New Hope should be on here and not Empire because it's the one that started it. I kind of feel the same way about Terminator. Terminator 2 is a much better movie than The Terminator, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I think The Terminator is great.
The Terminator is great, but it's more like great for the nostalgia and for its charm. It's not as it's not as well made, frankly, as Terminator 2. I think it's a better crafted story. The characters are more interesting. Sarah Connor is a much more interesting character in the second than she is in the first. But it's a very different story too, right? It's more beloved. It was a huge hit. What it does do is it moves forward visual effects in a way that is super, super important. I mean, like as important as The Matrix, I would argue, in terms of visual effects. So I think it belongs on this list for that reason, but there's a part of me that feels like, shouldn't the original be on here? Because that's the one that, like, you wouldn't have the second one without the first. But purely based on how people rate it, yeah, it makes sense that this one would be the one.
Yeah. No, I because it's better. I think. Whereas I could debate whether Empire or A New Hope is better, like one is better or worse than the other, because they're
both great.
I think they are both great. Terminator 2, I think, just is better.
It just is better.
It's just a better movie. Whereas the first one's a horror movie and the second one's an action and adventure movie.
Yes.
So there is certainly a difference. It's like equating Alien and Aliens, whereas Alien I think is a better movie. But one's a horror movie and one's an action movie.
That's right. Yeah. For the record, I think I think Alien probably should be on this list.
Alien should be on this list.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here, Inception.
Yeah.
Alien should be on this list. And no one else should be on this list?
Jurassic Park? Yes.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
I thank you. Like, but like, come on. Like, really?
Totally. I'm
Inception?
100%. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. 100%. 100%. How are Alien and Jurassic Park not on this list and Inception is? It makes no sense.
Even not talking like these are the movies that are important to science fiction and to film and to whatever else. You just like,
yeah,
the highest rated? Really?
I know.
But they're older.
They're
79, 93.
Yeah.
Like those, it's different. Like you're right. I think it comes down to the recency.
I think so.
In the 90s was further away than we care to admit.
Yes. 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 I think the fact that there are as many movies on this list that are as old as they are is really because the franchises have stuck around. Matrix, Star Wars, Terminator. Those franchises have stuck around.
Jurassic Park has stuck around.
It has.
Yeah.
But
change the branding, not a good idea.
I suppose,
Jurassic
but
World.
you're right. It has stuck around. But I think that's the only reason that those three are on this list, being as old as they are. It's probably because they still have relevance today because they're still making stories in those universes.
Correct. Yeah. Well, Frank, this was so fun. Great to talk to you as always. Tell me where the people can find us.
You can find us on a street corner shouting about how Jurassic Park should be on this list. No, you can find us on... But really though. I've never been able to predict exactly what you were going to say so confidently as I did right there.
You were really confident. You knew it was coming.
I knew exactly what you were about to say.
So happy for you. I'm also happy that, no offense to Star Trek Wrath of Khan, great movie, but like...
That should also be on
or
this list.
2009, for that matter.
Yeah.
2009 Star Trek.
Yeah.
Neither of them changed science fiction.
No, I wouldn't put 2009 on this list of I mean, my personal, highest rated of all time.
My personal enjoyment, but
in terms of like important significance, I would put Wrath of Khan.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep telling people where.
Yeah, beerwithgeeks.com. You can find all past episodes of this show where we do talk about things like Star Trek and whatever. Oh, I'd put Moon on my personal list too.
Moon,
I love
good movie.
But you can find us wherever podcasts are found. Spotify now does ratings and reviews, so please hit us up there and give. If that's you're listening to us, please give us a rating or a review. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and everywhere podcasts are found. Subscribe. Hit us up at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio and thoughtbubbleaudio.com to visit the rest of our shows, run by us, some run by our friends, and they're all wonderful. And beerwithgeeks@gmail.com.
Well, Frank, that was really succinct and well said. So I say to you, it's nice being with you. And until next time, cheers.
Jurassic Park. Oh, cheers.